Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm continuing my Robert E. Howard series with the seventh story in my bibliography of Robert E. Howard, which may or may not be accurate, titled Halt, Who Goes There? It was published September 24th, 1924 in the Yellow Jacket, which was a school newspaper, a high school newspaper, at the school that Howard was going to in his senior year. And it's just a short story, a very short story. And I originally started my Robert E. Howard series with the first story he published in Weird Tales, which was Spear and Fang, because I didn't think I was going to get a hold of these early stories. Well, I did track them all down, got books that these are in. And this story I actually now have in two sources. One is School Days in the Post Oaks, which is well, they're both Robert E. Howard Foundation books. School Days in the Post Oaks is currently available brand new. You can order it off their website or off Amazon. I got this shipped to me quickly. Excellent book, very good production. Love it. Kudos to the Robert E. Howard Foundation for putting out such beautiful books. The other book that I have it in is Sentiment, an oleo of rarer works by Robert E. Howard, again by the Robert E. Howard Foundation. Now, this one is out of print. You can get used copies, but they're going to be pricey because this one apparently is sought after. It's a very good one. It's got tons and tons and tons of stuff, stories, poems, fragments. Just it's a thick book. It's an amazing book. And this is like I was talking about. There's a lot of his earliest work that was never published in his lifetime. It was after his death, people going through his things found these in trunks. They were never published. They might have been shown to some close friends or family, but otherwise nobody saw them. And so they finally did receive publication later on in various fanzines, and some didn't even get published until they appeared in Sentiment. So there's a lot of really early work in here, but it wasn't published until more recently. And since I'm going in order of publication, I'll be reading these kind of at the end of my Robert E. Howard project, because a reader would not have come across those stories in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. They wouldn't have been able to read those stories until long after they read everything else Howard had done. And so that's the way I'm going to handle this. I'm not going to try to figure out when in the 1920s all those things were written and try to fit them in the early days of Howard. I'm going to read them in order of publication because I'm after the reader experience of these authors. What would it be like to be an ideal reader who is able to get a hold of everything that an author publishes as the author publishes it and read them in that exact order? That's what I'm after with all these series. And so that's what I'm doing with Robert E. Howard. So Halt, Who Goes There is my number 7. Like I say, it was published in his high school newsletter. So it's not professional publication. It's kind of amateur publication. But he did a fairly good job, but it is still amateur student juvenile work. In this, you have a robbery, and a guy named Hawkshaw is investigating it. And it is kind of like Murders in the Rue Morgue type Sherlock Holmes style deductive reasoning is the whole story. And there's not really any action. It's all just the detective talking about his process and coming up. Now the difference with this one is that Robert E. Howard is making fun of that genre. And so he gets very ridiculous, and it's it's fairly funny. It's not super hilarious, but it's funny. He did a good job with this, making it funny, poking fun at the whole detective genre, and just making it the whole thing completely silly and being satirical. It reminds me of some of the fan writing of Ray Bradbury and Forrest Ackerman. And so it is kind of it's super short. It's kind of an interesting read. I still would only recommend it to the Robert E. Howard completist, especially since you'd be putting out a chunk of money for books full of little short stories like this that are not Conan. Um, you really have to be diehard Robert E. Howard fan to bother reading these. But if you are a fan, it's worth digging it up and reading it. I thought this was kind of a fun story. So, have you read how Halt Who Goes There? And what did you think of it? Did you think it was at all funny, or did you think it was just stupid, or what? Leave your comments in the comments section about the story about Robert E. Howard, not about anything else. And come on back for more. We got a lot more Robert E. Howard coming up. Like I say, after Halt Who Goes There, Howard made his first professional sale to Weird Tales with a story called Spear and Fang. I've already covered that in a video. Please go to the Robert E. Howard playlist on YouTube and you'll find that video and can do that review. So the next one that I'm going to be recording after this one is going to be In the Forest of Villafare, which I had to get a hold of yet another Robert E. Howard book in order to read it. But again, it's a brand new book, so these things are available, which is really cool. I'm going to be reading that and doing a review on it, hopefully very soon. So come on back for all the Robert E. Howard and all the other content, all the other authors and stories we talk about here on Telltale Books.